Hello and welcome. Thank you for watching our presentation today. The law offices of McLaughlin and Associates and McLaughlin Mediation and Consulting focus on helping small to mid-sized businesses grow and thrive. You started your business because of your passion. Let us help you with that vision. We offer a variety of legal and human resources services. Check out our website for more details at www.ma-lawpc.com. And now, on to our presentation.
So we're going to talk about, right now, we're going to talk about undue influence, okay? Undue influence is where it all happens, usually, okay? So undue influence means somebody's got a special relationship, and as a result of that special relationship, they abuse it. And by abusing it, they get some benefit from it. So I've given you a couple examples, which are the primary ones. Someone acting as a power of attorney, an agent under a power of attorney, so healthcare or property. So someone, they get Alzheimer's, dementia, they're physically ill, and they say, you know, I want my son, my daughter, I want them to take care of me. And then all of a sudden, the person who's taken care of suddenly feels like they can go to Disney. That happens all the time. They all of a sudden, the annual gifts that were supposed to be given only to their children was supposed to be given because that's what mom or dad would want to do because they don't want their estate to be so great for taxes. You know, that you can imagine those type of things. Or sometimes it goes to the other side, which is to say, I've been given a lot of time and there's no way for me to get paid for this, so I'm paying myself. Everybody will understand. So there's a lot of justification, but it's not per se like illegal. But it gets to the next point, which is it does lead to fraud claims usually. Because it's not enough to say that someone did something, they mismanaged something. That's not the standard. It's either it has to be a breach of fiduciary duty. A breach would be basically saying you had the main breach of fiduciary duty would be self-dealing. You know, you started taking the lion's share for yourself without considering anybody else because you're supposed to act only for the best interest of the person and without detriment to everyone else who could be affected by that. So what you usually have to do is plead fraud. You committed fraud. You misled us. You misled mom or dad, for example. Emotions are really high. And here's why. The minute you plead something like this, and this is my last part, the family is effectively destroyed. There's no recovery from it. You can't bring a case like this and win it without pleading the worst possible behavior. You effectively have to call them a thief. You have to call them unloving. If I'm in a capacity like that, I have not told myself that I'm a thief or that I'm a fraudulent person. I have justified in my mind that I am working for the best interest. Mom or dad would understand. So when another sibling says that you're fraudulent, it's like calling the cops on someone, right? Think about how that, in a situation where you have an altercation over a weekend and the police get called. No one forgets that type of thing. The same thing when you file a fraud claim against someone that has that same effect, and you can't come back. You can't take those words back. And in order to plead it, usually involves pleadings, for example, motions to dismiss, because no one's going to say, "Oh yes, I committed fraud, therefore let's go forward." So they have to defend themselves, and many times they'll say, "Oh yeah, what about you?" And everything that's been building up for the last several decades, and imagine the older the parent, you could have like 50 years, 60 years, 70 years of built-up resentment. It's all getting aired out publicly, and it's never going away. Lawsuits don't go away once you file that. So now you have the situation of someone having to defend their good honor from a lawsuit that can never be taken. Now, as a practical matter, no one looks at lawsuits. I mean, I think there's a fear people think that people are like scouring the pleadings. It's not, but family members might. The people that you care about, like, I heard so-and-so, whatever. Think about this. Think about when people hear that someone got arrested for something, okay? And the guy, kind of the rumor mill goes, I heard so-and-so. And then they start talking. And they don't talk about what's in the pleading. They talk about everything else that they know. That's kind of why this becomes a big issue, okay? So let's go to the next slide. All right, so undue influence, the way it's done is, again, it literally is the most common claim. So we have claims that the family member exerted influence over the will of a decedent. Decedent is just the word for the person who passed away. And they force a couple different types of changes. Either a change to a will or trust, that would be the number one, where they would go in and they would cut someone out. And that gets to the question about how do you go about doing that? It has to be very clear that that was what the intent was. If someone's older, in fact, I recently just dealt with a situation where someone comes in and they say, well, this is what mom or dad wants. As an attorney, I go and I talk one-on-one with them. Sometimes that is the desire of a parent. Many times it's not. Many times it's because of where the parent is in life, is they don't want to lose what they have, and they'll go along. And the going along is what you have to guard against. Because if they're just going along, guaranteed it will rear its ugly head. When you go to a courtroom, it's going to be found out that happened. Sale of a valuable asset. You got a home, right? Someone's gone into a nursing home. 2 months later, everybody wants to sell the family home, okay? That's not the way that gets done. If someone's alive in particular, you can't go and just sell their home out from under them. If they pass away, that's different, but then there's an authority issue, right? Are you acting as the executor or administrator, or are you just some beneficiary who wants it sold, okay? Use of an asset for one beneficiary's benefit happens all the time. That's to pay themselves for the vacations, they compensate themselves, they decide what it is, and no one needs to know that. And then causing estrangement. So how does that happen? When someone goes into a hospital, and it doesn't even have to be for a dementia or Alzheimer's or anything. Sometimes they just go in because, older people, they fall and they break hips. That's a very, it'd be kind of a common injury. And they're there for an extended period of time. And one child will not want to upset mom or dad, so they'll exclude the person who's always been problems in the family, and they won't let them go to the hospital. They'll instruct the people at the front desk of how bad this person's always been, and if they go there, mom just won't get any sleep, dad just won't have any rest. And if they have a power of attorney, right, if they're acting under that, they have that authority. Depending on who they're dealing with, the administrator was like, I don't have time for these issues. I'm going to go ahead and go with the flow. And they bar people. Phone calls can't be made. And then all of a sudden you find out that one of the earlier things, for example, mom or dad decides that they want to change the will because their son or daughter, who they thought loved them, is no longer coming. That's how this all plays out. One feeds into the other, and it's the justification of the person who's acting wrongly. And again, no one says to themselves, I'm a bad person. They justify it because they know things that no one else does. And if we have to go to lawsuit, great, we'll go to war. They're going to find out about them. Except that's not how it plays out. Okay, and so this can be brought against heirs, can be brought by the heirs of an estate, can be brought by other fiduciaries. So, for example, if you have someone who's acting as a trustee and now there's a successor trustee, they can bring claims. You can have actually successors who file to remove the predecessor ones. So for example, I got someone who's stealing money, and then I'm the next in line. I can come in and I say, look, this person's a bad person, get them out. And in state authorities. So there are elder abuse laws, and if it's a situation, especially with nursing home cases and that's going to be a problem. And so if it gets to the state authority, it's out of the hands of anyone. No civil attorney can control that. And really, the states will go down it in certain areas like that. So domestic violence would be another one, where the state will take, they control it 100%. In other words, you can't negotiate with them and take it away because they have an obligation to pursue that. They have an obligation to ensure that elder people are not hurt. And so they're like, oh, it's a misunderstanding. And even mom or dad, they're like, I don't want this to happen. But that's not how it plays out, because it's presumed that mom or dad is at a point that they don't know what they want. And again, it's you think about a period of time where maybe they're in a hospital or maybe kind of their life is changing, and the presumption is this person has taken advantage of that situation. Go ahead. So alternative dispute resolution. This is the one, because of the way that litigation plays out, the way that you can't recover from it. This is one where you want to try if at all possible. So when the parent is still alive, and really when they've passed away, there's something called a family settlement agreement. And it's really it's an agreement that says, as it relates to all these assets, or as it relates to this particular asset, we're going to deal with it this way. So a very common situation would be that mom or dad has gone into a nursing home, they got to sell the house, okay? But let's say there's 6 kids. 2 kids want to sell it, the other 4 are like, we don't care. That's a time for a team meeting. You get the family together with mom or dad, and you say, we're thinking about selling the house, what do you want to do? Now, mom or dad might be in like a nice apartment, and they're saying, you know what, I don't want to keep paying the taxes on it. That totally makes sense, let's do that. And they'll do it. But what happens if they've gone to a nursing home because they've already gotten severe dementia, and they can't make the decision? Then you have to go to the other family members who are going to be affected by that. You kind of have a decision. You decide that really for financial reasons it makes sense to sell it, and you get everybody to sign off so that later on when they claim that it could have been sold for a better amount, that's done. You get everybody to give authority to some to take care of that action, okay? So that's what I recommend most of the times. And it will take, and you'd be surprised how diverse families can come together if it's presented in the right way. It's not about we want to get mom's money or dad's money. It's just, look, we understand that we have to, either we got to deal with this now or deal with it later. And, sometimes it's there. Many times that discussion will kind of arise in sort of Medicaid situations. Can we avoid Medicaid, that kind of thing? You can have those kind of discussions with them too, okay? Settlement conferences. So sometimes people think, let's go to court and then we can do these settlement conferences with a judge and it'll get worked out. Because of the nature of the allegations being made, by the time you get to a settlement conference, most cases do get settled, but what has been said will not be forgotten. And so the idea is not, you don't want to get to a point where a judge says, here's what happens. The judge will say, I've seen 1,000 cases like yours, and you're not an important person, you're not all that unique, therefore you should settle the case. When someone says that to you in a position of authority, do you feel good about it? Absolutely not. They literally took your worst nightmare and made it worse. They diminished it, right? And so that's the problem with the court system. The court system is not there to make people feel good. The court system is to resolve cases because they get other judges above them who say you have to close your case. And they do. They see it all the time. I don't want to say the judge is jaded, but they are in the sense that they've seen it all, okay? And so when you get in front of them and you start complaining about some small thing or some gripe that you had, they're going to say, oh yeah, you and the other 100 people that I just saw in the last week. And so, again, it takes away your unique pain. So that should be really a point of that should be the last thing that you do. So pre-suit mediation is really the better way to do it. You can pick somebody who knows what they're doing, you bring everybody together, and the focus isn't about money or that, it's really focusing about that relationship issue first, and then you can come in to see resolution. Because it may be of the 10 assets, there's only 2 that anybody cares about. Okay, so you can say, why are you guys fighting? What's your problem? What do you think is happening? You think this person's stealing. You think this person's a bad person. Why do you think that? And then you can kind of, it's almost like a counseling session, but you need those skills. And now when you get together, everybody's like, you know what? I never really hated you. I just resented this. They might actually have discussions. Now at the end, you resolve the dispute, but you know what you did? You actually helped facilitate a discussion that never took place. At a minimum, they're no worse off than they were. They may still resent each other. They may not want anything to do with each other, but they don't feel like all their dirty laundry got aired because it can maintained in a kind of a private setting. And that's what I'm saying at the bottom is that these non-monetary options, which many times are what the issues are. Okay, so.
Thank you again for watching this informative session. If you have any questions about what you just heard or want to contact us for legal or business consulting services, you can reach us at 630-230-8434 or email us at kmclaughlin@ma-lawpc.com. Have a wonderful day.